On the night, everything changed. I was sitting alone in my apartment, scrolling through my phone and wondering how my life had become so small. I was 34 years old, recently divorced, drowning in debt, and working a job that barely paid rent. The city outside my window felt alive, but my world had gone silent. That was when my phone rang. The number was unknown. I almost ignored it, but something about the timing felt strange, as if the call had been waiting for me specifically. When I answered, I expected silence or a scam. Instead, I heard my own voice. Not a recording, not an echo. My voice, older, slower, and heavy with exhaustion. "Listen carefully," the voice said. "You don't have much time." My body went cold. I tried to speak, but the words stuck in my throat. The voice on the phone sounded exactly like me, right down to the slight stutter I developed when nervous. "This is not a joke," the voice continued. "I'm calling you from 10 years in the future, and if you hang up, you will die tonight." I laughed, not because it was funny, but because fear sometimes disguises itself as disbelief. I told him this was impossible. The voice sighed, like someone tired of explaining the obvious. "You're sitting on the couch by the window," he said. "Your kitchen light is still on. You haven't washed the mug you used this morning, and your left knee hurts because of an injury you never got treated properly." I stood up slowly. Everything he said was true. "Prove it," I whispered. "In exactly 30 seconds, he said. "A car alarm will go off outside your building." I watched the clock on my wall. When the seconds hit 0, a car alarm screamed into the night. My legs gave out, and I sat back down. The voice began explaining things I didn't want to believe. He told me that in 10 years, I would be living with unbearable regret. He told me that my life wouldn't end in a dramatic way, but in a quiet, meaningless accident that could easily be avoided if I trusted him. "You don't get a second call," he said. "This is the only chance we have." I asked him why he sounded so broken. "Because I waited too long to change," he replied. "And now I'm trying to save you from becoming me." The call lasted for hours. He told me things only I could know. Childhood memories, thoughts I never shared, fears I buried so deeply that even I avoided them. Slowly, the impossible became undeniable. Before hanging up, he gave me one instruction. "Do not leave your apartment tomorrow night," he said. "No matter what happens, no matter who calls you, do not step outside." The call ended, leaving me alone with the truth I couldn't escape. The next day passed in a haze. I skipped work, ignored messages, and locked my door as night approached. I told myself I was being paranoid, but fear kept me inside. As the clock crept closer to midnight, my phone rang again. This time, it was my ex-wife. She sounded scared. She told me her car had broken down just outside my building and asked if I could come help her. Old instincts kicked in. Guilt, responsibility, love that never fully dies. I moved toward the door, my hand hovering over the handle. Then my phone vibrated with a message from the unknown number. "If you open that door, you won't live to see morning. Primera? Fros? My ex-wife kept calling. Her voice messages became desperate, angry, confused. I checked my window and saw her car parked outside, hazard lights blinking. Everything felt real. Everything felt cruel. I remembered something the future version of me had said. "This is how it tricks you. It uses people you care about." I stayed inside. At 12:17 a.m., I heard tires screech. Metal collided with metal. Sirens filled the air. The next morning, the news reported that a drunk driver had crashed into a parked car outside my building, killing the woman inside instantly. It was my ex-wife. I didn't cry. I couldn't. Grief and relief twisted together into something unbearable. I spent days barely functioning, haunted by the knowledge that if I had gone outside, I would have died with her. Weeks passed. Life slowly moved forward. He quit my job, paid attention to my health, and started fixing things I once ignored. I rebuilt myself piece by piece, driven by the memory of a voice that sounded like my own but carried decades of pain. 10 years later, on a quiet night, I sat alone in a different apartment. Older, but at peace. My phone rested in my hand as I stared at a number I had memorized long ago. My younger self answered on the second ring. When I heard my own voice from the past, nervous and confused, my chest tightened. I told him everything. Primera Hua Ernet him. Primera Saved him. But as the call ended, something felt wrong. My hands began to shake. Memories shifted, rearranging themselves like broken glass, sliding into place. I suddenly remembered a different ending. One where I never made the call. One where regret consumed me until time itself gave me a cruel opportunity to change the past. The truth hit me harder than any fear. I wasn't saving my younger self. I was creating myself. And somewhere in the loop, someone else was paying the price. My phone rang again. Unknown number. I didn't answer.